Good morning. It is cold here today. I'm building a startup live on video. A startup product, really. And I want to say startup product, actually, but I'll get to that in a minute. Yesterday, I talked about the idea I had for the startup, for the product, and I also talked about why I'm working on this. And today I want to sort of take all the materials I have some papers and some documents, and get them together and put some broad strokes design wireframe stuff down, just so I can get a general sense of the overall experience about what this thing is going to be. I wanted to talk about the startup thing because I think that startup is often this word that's thrown around, and I think I'm building like a startup product right now, but I don't really consider myself building I don't really consider that I'm building a startup, because a startup has a couple other things. I mean, first of all, this is all like very product focused. Like this is all about the design and engineering and product strategy, what this thing needs to be and who it's for. But it doesn't have a lot of the. I'm not really working on marketing right now very much. I'm not working on sales at all yet. And there's a whole half of a company. Sometimes people call it like the customer facing side, which is kind of terrible because everybody should be customer facing. But people who are sort of usually on the phone all day with potential customers, like sales or account management, or customer success support, or marketers or customer experience people, or there's the whole world of companies that usually half the company fully is dedicated to figuring out how to get the thing that we made and sell it and bring it to market. It's really, really important. And so I think a lot of people who are interested in starting startups sometimes tend to think a lot about that product side and not at all about the other side. And that's what I'm doing here. And so I don't want to pretend that this is like a complete picture of a startup, because you need both of those to make a real working business. And beyond that, you also have to have like a company, right? Like startups are companies. I work for a startup. I've started a startup. It's usually a sign that you're running or building some kind of company. Companies have more than one person. They may have an office, they may not, but they're legal entities. They operate in a lot of ways. And if you're like a CEO of a startup, the reality is that your time is mostly going to be spent hiring other people and raising money and setting a vision that gives other people flexibility. I mean, the hard parts of startups are not coming up with ideas for products at all. And this also isn't a startup in another sense, which is a sense of like the more like narrowly defined version of a startup, which is a new company that's really focused on rapid growth, which I guess, every company would probably want rapid growth, I guess, or many would. But specifically companies that are using information technology to share and spread their product and or marketing. So Google as a search engine doesn't need to send out a new, person every time somebody does a web search. It's just a single bunch of computers in a building, and they can scale it much more easily. And also venture capital, which is, investors in Silicon Valley, often who put a lot of money into companies in the hopes that money will help them achieve some sort of land grab, be the first to do X, Y, or Z. And those companies sometimes become, very successful, very wealthy. The Ubers, the Airbnbs, et cetera. But often they don't. And I've been part of a company structured like that. And I don't think there's anything necessarily good or bad about that. But, obviously this isn't that. This isn't me trying to figure out how to put a pitch deck together. This isn't me trying to figure out how to scale 10x over and over and over and over again. It's not a moonshot idea. It's just a simple online business product. Like, I'm a person making a thing that I can sell to other people. And even if your goal is to become like a maniacal, evil genius Silicon Valley person, then this is still probably a pretty good place to start, because instead of imagining like all the different like crazy foundations and stuff you're gonna be building, like you can just focus on building something of value to people. And that's just what good businesses are. I also wanted to talk about, I'm going to be making mistakes during this process, no doubt. Plenty of mistakes, as I mentioned before. I'm going to be using new tools I haven't used very much today. But that's part of the normal process, is using new tools you haven't used much, I think. But throughout that, since I've been making websites and stuff for a while now, around more than 10 years, I guess. Um, there's just like some patterns and things I have sort of in my brain ready to go. I've practiced. I've got some degree of skill at this. The reason I say that is because sometimes when I'm doing classes or teaching or working with really, an intern that I brought on or something, there's sometimes moments where it can feel a little depressing to see other designers who are building something, build it much faster or seemingly easier than you are. Sometimes it's not as easy as it looks. And that's what I'm making this video to do, is try to break down that a little bit. But sometimes just practice, helps you get better at your craft. And so if you're a young person watching this, if you're somebody who's just starting out, if you haven't done a lot of design, and you have this sinking feeling like, oh my gosh, this is like just happening quickly, and mine just drags on forever, I would just hope that you recognize that, you're still learning and you're still in the early part of your path, and that, I hope that this could be an encouraging, exciting thing to be involved in and just sort of be able to see as it goes. And I don't want you to feel like this makes anybody less of something. I mean, believe me, wait till we get to the coding section. You'll see what mistakes look like for sure. I mean, you're going to see them throughout the whole thing. But I just don't want you to, I don't want people to be discouraged by this. I hope that they aren't at least. And with that, let's get into it. All right, so we talked about this idea. We're building a sort of a live workshop tool for people who run workshops. And the general thing that it does, I think, is you're going to be able to put together a prompt for a question for a group of people in a live meeting or a live remote meeting. They're going to be able to add some responses like they would with a sticky note, and maybe there will be some dot voting or something, and some report at the end, I think, of how this is going to be. And we talked a little bit about the problem that we're trying to solve. There's a specific group of people who run meetings at tech companies like designers and sprint retrospectives, brainstorming meetings. And we have a sort of a general sense of that, but I want to get a little bit into the market today, like a specific use case. I want to pick like a pseudo persona, do a mini journey map, and then talk about some wireframes. And you'll see, like, those are all words that can take weeks or months at big companies, but I think they're still worth doing, but there really can just be little blips in the radar of a much more narrowly defined lean design process. I got a desk, I got a stack of some papers that I was doodling on about this project. I have a domain name. Oh, so I should mention that I got the domain name I got for this. I was thinking about naming this thing, and I had this idea of calling it a board, like, because there's a lot of startups that have board in the name, BOARD, like, because it is I imagine a board is something that we used to use. You used to be able to use like on whiteboards, like that's the Post-it notes go up on the board. So the idea of this being a board, like a virtual board, I think was an interesting idea. And I was thinking about what kind of board to call it. And I wanted to give it the sense of like playfulness, designiness, and the ability to like change and adapt. And so I was thinking about this, and just shuffle just popped into my head. And I realized shuffleboard is also a word. And it sort of is a fun thing. It's already a game. Shuffle like implies this playfulness. So board, like a source of truth that you can have as like a place to look at things, plus a playfulness, plus it's also a real word that means something fun. And I think I got some kind of shuffleboard domain, get shuffleboard, I think, which is available, which is crazy. I haven't checked in a while, so maybe we'll find out that I didn't get that domain and we'll have to go back and fix it. So I did get that. And so I think working name for this is shuffleboard, which I think could be cool. And I have these papers. What I did is I already just took some pictures of these papers on my phone here. And I didn't even put them on my computer because I figured I might as well try to do as much live as I could. So I'm just going to take these and put them on my computer, airdrop them. So I have just a place where all the existing materials I have are all ready to go on my computer. Wonderful. All right. So I've got this folder of sketches. Domain. Oh, so the other thing I've done is I do these voice journals. I'll really commonly just journal things about my life or ideas I've had into my phone on like my voice memos app. And so I'm going to go into my voice memos folder here and just search for shuffle and get all these voice memos that I've done about this, just a bunch of random stuff. So let's see here. Here's an example. All right. Oh my God, this is a long one.
So you have to be shared with the org. Shuffleboard lets you actually share them with everybody once you're done.
I'm breathing heavily because I'm usually walking around town. There's a lot of sounds of me eating and drinking in these.
Piece for the meeting, which include.
If you thought there were a lot of ums in this video, wait till you hear all these voice memos. So I'm just going to copy these and go to my desktop and make a new folder called voice memos and paste them all here. So at least I have a place for these. And let's see, I have my downloads, a folder called sketches. Put that on my desktop. And I'm going to make a folder in my main projects folder. So I have a bunch of projects here. I'm going to make a new folder called, I do like an upside down bang, upside down exclamation point, so that the projects I'm working on float to the top here. I'm going to call it shuffleboard. And drag my stuff from the desktop into shuffleboard. Okay, great. So now I've got a folder that's going to like contain all my stuff, and I think it's just always helpful for me to have like a single, again, source of truth for everything that I'm working on. So this will be my source of truth that are all my files that I use, and then I'll also have some backlog later and some other things, but we'll get to that. So I think I haven't listened to all these voice memos for a while. I might go back later and listen to them, but I'm going to just start by looking through these pictures and seeing what we got. And just like trying to put all the ideas that I've had before, because I wanted to just get them out of my brain, back into my brain a little bit so I can get ready to work on this wireframe. Let's see, workshops on autopilot. Capture ideas digitally. Give everyone a voice. There's a person pointing to a board. No more taking pictures of messy whiteboards, passing out Sharpies and taping walls, losing workshop results to something, 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 transcribing Post-its and Sharpies manually. So we talked a little bit about that. Now you can run workshops and collaborative meetings easily. Include remote employee ideas, share agendas and question prompts, capture all ideas and reactions in one place, share all the results with one click. Great for retrospectives, kickoffs, voting, brainstorming, live reactions, creative sprints, designers product. Those might be like future landing pages, I imagine. So this is just like a sketch of like a homepage, like a pitch. I kind of like the idea of sketching not just the product, but like the landing page. Sometimes people think like, well, the website lives in marketing land and the product lives in product land, but they're all part of the same user experience. So if you're designing, especially if you have the opportunity to design something by yourself, it's a good idea to just like think about the holistic thing altogether and how are we talking about what this thing is going to provide value to people. And then obviously we want to give them that value, but the two should match. You shouldn't say, hey, this is going to make your life way easier. And then you get into the product and it makes your life way harder, but does some other thing. All right, this one, let's see. Thrasher. Brainstorming for async teams. I believe that says, wow, my handwriting. Issue collab without groupthink. So this is basically saying, here's a value proposition. Collaboration without this sort of groupthink design by committee style. Density, I think I'm basically just saying you should be able to have a lot of visual information on one screen without a lot of white space. Some concept of a force-directed graph for, oh, my phone's distracting me. Put that away. Force-directed graph for cards are all in a row, real-time sessions, problems with whiteboarding. It's on-site. It's impossible to show and share. One person can talk at a time. We've talked about this stuff already. Ask results or overall visible as you go. So we're getting into like some UI things, like there's some feature ideas, like a quick sketch of that. But the question is like flow wise, what is the pattern, the cadence of this meeting? Is everybody just constantly throwing things up on the board, or do you want to model it after the workshops, how they're usually run, which is everybody writes Post-its and then you put them up on the board as you present or all at once? So I'm going to ask some questions about how this is going to work. This next one, it looks like I'm just making some like sketches around how these questions could look. So here's a question, here's some answers, here's a next button, here's a video. So I think the idea of having a video prompt, real time with live playback, like live code. Oh, so you could go back and see when people submitted responses is an idea. Not really sure what the benefit of that is. Ask questions, give feedback. Wizard always catches you up and asks the most relevant question. So I think the idea here is that, I don't get it. It's just the idea that it's keeping you in sync with the live stuff. By the way I'm talking about this, you would think that somebody else wrote these notes, but they didn't. It was me. Okay. Reactions to things. This is nice. Like beyond just dot voting, you can react. Like, I like this. I really like this. I'm questioning it. I've heard things like that in meetings often. I'm not sure about that. I like it, and I love it is a really useful piece of feedback. So like some kind of toggles, some just kind of random UI sketches. These are sketches, so it's like if I have some random idea, I just put it on paper. They're not all going to be winners. Include in parking lot assumptions. Oh, so, a parking lot is something that sometimes when you have an idea for a project, you put in a parking lot, which is like, we want to work on this, but we're not going to do it right now. We're going to put it off to the side and like have it ready to go. There's got to be like, there's something here about like how we're going to sort and filter these ideas. Here's a card, like you could post it. Okay, this is about, you got to be able to draw on these Post-its, and at least you can at meetings. But is that really ever a good idea in these collaborative sessions? Because these Post-its are way too small to see illustrations on most of the time. But you could do it. Okay, at the bottom, there's this sense of like a review summary. Because one of the biggest pain points you remember is like having to go through that big picture of all these Post-its and like just write them all down. Let me show you guys what a picture of a Post-it whiteboard looks like. Let's see what we got. No, none of this. This is a pretty good example, I would say. It's not even that many Post-its. Like Post-it brainstorm. Let's see. But you can imagine like getting this picture, in your email, like, hey, everybody, we had a meeting, and here's what we came up with. You're looking at it, and you're like, what? QC question mark, velocity, burn up, retro, team charter. Like, I can't read a lot of these. The picture quality is bad. Clearly, there were some really interesting ideas happening in this circle triangle area, and we have no idea what they were. So this is a pain. And even to have to transcribe it is a pain. Yeah, this is what mine look like often. I don't know what happened here. So we want to like show some better sense of some report that says, hey, here's the big picture. This is what people really liked. Here's the stuff all together. Okay. What else we got? Comment on anything. Okay, so there's just some wondering about privacy. What things are open and closed. The idea that everything is just a thing in the database, but that doesn't make any sense to me right now. Maybe eventually. How to adjust font size. This is just a little sketch of like the waiting room, so to speak, like what it's like to join this poll, because there's always more than one user. There's always a lot of different people usually, especially if it's information technology, right? Like you're sending information across the wire to somebody else. That's what websites do fundamentally. And so there's two people, one at the either end of that wire. And so to think about having like a single user is almost always just not the case. Because there's usually just a lot of people involved. Even if they're not using the app, they're involved in the other person's life. And so this is the other perspective of who might be using this thing. Just a bunch of like random feature ideas. I mean, I think what happens is I get a lot of feature ideas when I'm working on this stuff, and I know that I can't build them all right now. Like, we're going to talk plenty about how to focus this thing down. So I just write them down, and so I have them forever, and then I can sleep because I know that I wrote it down. I don't have to build it right away. Killer app for tablets. Aren't we all looking for that? Touch whiteboards. Yeah, that would be cool. Okay. Make it responsive. This is like a form for how you could make one of these prompts. So what XYZ prompt text goes here? So you can say, what question do you want to ask? What should their answer be like? Miscellaneous stuff. Well, I like this idea. The chat heads show typing, and if the window loses focus, a little icon shows that person is distracted. And you could show them all on the little bottom row here. That's a cool idea. So some layout options, I guess. Not much there. Some random little logos. Really what I'm doing here, and I haven't started this. Obviously, I want to do some videos on this later, but I'm trying to get a sense of the brand. Like, shuffleboard is like, like it's a little bit of shimmy shuffle going on. It's like moving stuff around. It's already a game. There's definitely some design like tropes and cliches, like of just like goofy blobs and 80s zigzag shapes that happen a lot going on. So I don't want to like default to goofy stuff, but I want to get this brand. I want to make sure people feel that it's fun, that it's appropriate for work, however, and that it's going to let them mix and match and just gather ideas and sort of boil them and move them around until they get something useful out of them. And right now I have a hypothesis that I'm really going to be trying. Oh, there's two squirrels chasing each other. Really have this hypothesis that designers are going to be like the ones who want to start with this. Maybe that's just because I'm a designer. But if so, designers generally have a higher bar for visual design and brand than other people might. And that sort of makes sense. All right. So this is, I think, later. This is when I'm in that later stage and I'm just doing some other sketches, thinking about how this might work. So now we're getting into a little bit of like a flow. So it looks like you can log in here with a reminder to use your work email. And there's like some main dashboard here that shows like stuff. And here's where we're getting into this like sort of a bit of modeling. There's boards and meetings, and there's 14 days left in your trial. So you're just, okay, the easy stuff is like there's some kind of onboarding checklist here, as there always is. You can go to your username and go to some account, like manage your team, change your avatar, manage your billing. But there's the two main things here are boards and meetings. And the idea is that if you write like some kind of template for what a meeting might be, a set of prompts, you might want to run that multiple times. And so there might be two separate things here. Maybe boards is called templates or something. So meetings, it looks like you can go to a list of your meetings that you've run and then see the results of the meeting. You can download and print. Boards, you go to a new board. You have to name the board. Or I guess it could name it here. Maybe I made this one first. I don't know which. And then you kind of have to... Oh, so this is a specific question on a board. What question do you want to ask? How do you want them to answer? And the idea is that when you go to press play on a board, then the meeting, it'll be a meeting. And there's some like participant link experience here we got to figure out. So this is pretty close to the wireframe that we're going to build today. I think there's another one I have here that's similar. Let's take a look at this. Yeah, so at this point, I'm sort of sketching out like, first of all, I'm sketching some random like logo-y stuff. Like, what if it was a bunch of Post-its shuffling around on a board? Sometimes you can't overthink the design of the logo stuff. Shuffle board. On the same page, all mixed up, is this we're starting to group and take all these ideas and like clump them into high-level structures. And so I'm starting to name some things and take like the murky world that I see in my mind and try to group and sort and filter it into entities that I can shove into a database table. and a UI tree structure with routes and everything. So I think there's just a general sense that there's going to be these landing pages or a home page that's going to like tell you what this thing is. Some landing pages that show workshops, Scrum design, branding. So these are landing pages that like might come in from search engines or paid advertising. Then there's a couple other big pieces here. Presentation mode this is what happens when a facilitator is actually running a meeting. So it's this big thing that shows up on the board with people's responses. That's very modal, meaning you're not doing many things at once. You're either doing one thing at a time. In this case, you're doing just presenting this meeting. Very minimal. Looks like we have a little concept for a dark mode. I remember that. Participate, which is sort of like present, but this is participate, I think. Down here. The participate is what the participants see, which is similar to what the facilitator would see, I'm guessing. Just simpler. And then manage, which is when you're not running a meeting and there's boards and meetings and settings, and then you can edit boards. And so this is a different concept for creating a board, where you have like boxes of questions on the left and then questions here. I mean, really, it's the same structure as this, with just a lot more emphasis on the questions versus the visible part here. This is the same thing. That looks like questions about the list of questions, the prompt with settings, and then it'd be like a preview, I think. It's like showing them what this is going to look like. And the question is really, is this going to be like a form, or is this going to be something you can kind of edit in line? You don't really need to see a preview of what this thing is going to look like. And the last one, what's this one? This is just like a sketch of how the participant thing might work. So here's an idea where I had like, okay, you're going to get this on your phone. You're going to have your keyboard and a submit button. There's going to be a question and just an empty space for you to type. And you can go to your settings here and choose a color for yourself. And then I immediately said, no, don't choose a color for yourself, because the admin can do that. And that way we're trying to get as little into this experience as we can, because this is just for participants. So it should be boring. So they should focus and have like a conversation with everybody in the meeting, right? This is out of order, but it looks like anonymous login could be a thing, like board meeting hosted by Bobby Smith, join, and then you go to a waiting room, boring up fun. So I guess this is the boring version. Fun version, join the room, and then you give the link for everybody else to join. Okay, cool. All right. I got a pretty good sense of that. So I think I'm ready to get started on some wireframes. I'm going to take a quick break, maybe get a bite to eat, and I'll be back in a few minutes. Hello, I'm back. I got food, a little cup of tea here. Gotta stay refreshed. So, we just looked at some sketches, these, and now we're going to start some wireframes. Okay, I want to talk a little bit about why to even have, I had to switch my camera because my computer was freaking out trying to record screens and cameras and design tools all at the same time. So I'm just going to use this from now on, I think. Okay, so I want to talk about why design stuff first. The bigger, more complex your product is, the better I think design can be. A design phase, I mean, design in general is important for a lot of reasons, but a specific design phase can be useful. I kind of think of it like writing a script for a TV show. Like, you can do improv, you can have actors come up with stuff on the spot once it's production time, but you're just it's a big risk. And if you want to have an arc a story that continues and is consistent throughout an entire set of things, you need somebody sort of doing a little work in advance to figure out who the characters are, what their stories are, what their tone is, so that when it's production time, you can focus on getting the production right and make a few changes in the way. But it really helps to take this sort of blueprint, high-level, big picture, even for small projects like this. So I'm going to do some design stuff. I'm going to do some persona-y stuff. I'm going to do some user journey-like stuff. I'm going to do some wireframe-like stuff and low fidelity. but it's all going to be sort of pseudo because we're in such an early stage. Those things can take a really long time in bigger companies and go through this whole process. But this is really just about going through that as quickly as possible. I'm not going to skip it though. I want to still do it, and I usually do. And I find that when I do, it helps. And the reason I think is because it's important for me to paint in these broad strokes. Just like the script analogy is one. When you're writing computer software, you're in the production mode. Like there's all these tiny little details. Like you have to figure out the word that we're going to use here, or the pixel here, or the border radius, or the shadow, or the color, or the data type, and how are we going to talk to the database, and what is the pattern, how are we going to name this variable. And so you quickly get caught up in all the trees and lose track of the forest real quick. The forest being the user experience, the arc. It's not even the whole page. It's the series, the way you flow between pages. Like when you're designing, at first you're not designing pages. You're designing a whole flow of going in and out and around an application. And so, you might spend forever working on a single page, but that might only be used for like a second. So I think it's so important to take a second to just try to capture that as little as you need to. You don't need to do much, just a little bit. So let's see. I'm going to pull up. I added Shuffleboard, my folder, to my sidebar, my Mac here, so I can see my voice memos and my sketches here. So I have these at the ready. And I'm going to pull up a new tool I've been using lately called Whimsical, which is like a sort of a post-it note, wireframey, flowcharty visual thing. It's pretty cool. It's quicker, I think, to use Whimsical than Sketch. And what I like about it more than that is it's very restrictive in what you can build in a wireframe, which is important when you're wireframing because you don't want to get distracted by everything. Low fidelity should be low fidelity. It should really be pretty straightforward. And I think it's just kind of a nice tool. And I'm trying something new because I tried new things. And so I want you to see how that works. I do really like prototyping and testing those flows with the prototyping tool. And Whimsical is not a prototyping tool, so we're going to have to import it to something else, I think, for that to work. And maybe we'll find out it's just too much hassle. Okay, so let's start. I'm thinking about like this page. Remember this page? Like the very beginning. We know that when people go through to sign up for an application, generally there's like this process that generally maps like the archetypical classic stages of a marketing process, which is where they have some need, maybe they recognize the need, or they're curious, so they go and start to search for something that might help them solve this problem. And so they're just kind of in this exploration, discovery mode. This is like, imagine you're window shopping, right? And you think you might need a new rain jacket, and then you see one in the window. You're at REI, they got the 20% off or something. So you're curious. You want to explore it. So you want something here that shows what a window display might show, like, welcome, this is what this is what our values are. Generally, this is what you're going to be in for. Why don't you come on in and take a look at the product itself, which is our landing page. I'm going to just call this home. And, we're going to have a couple things we know. We're going to say, like, shuffle board is cool. I think I hit B for button. Ooh, yeah, I can. Sign up. Both of these are bad copy. Bad copy. But that's okay, because we're just trying to get the bones down first. So you go to the home page. Then what happens? Okay, boards. You see a list of your boards, and then you can trying to figure out the keyboard shortcuts. Frame F1, nice. Okay, so you're going to go home to boards to edit board. I would say view board and then hit edit, but I'm only going to add a view stage if we need it. So instead of list of boards, I'm going to say like sprint retro board brand brainstorm Those two are realistic enough. Copy paste a bunch. Honestly, at this stage, I'm just going to make everything extra large because we want to be able to see it in the big picture. XXL. All right, so a bunch of boards. I'm going to click and drag and say boards. All right, edit board. So this is the idea here that there's going to be like a planning phase where you go and you like can manage the questions. So this is going to be called Sprint Retrospective Board. And we're going to have question 1, what went well? What didn't go well? What, that's all you really need for a sprint retro, I guess. And then there's going to be some questions here. Text. What went well? Options. Require, min required, max, number, answers. Let's throw some crap in there. Okay. We're probably going to need, what else on the home screen? Some pricing stuff eventually. So you're going to come in, see the home screen, go to a board. There's going to be some kind of, we need some kind of like queue, like we had in that wireframe, like onboarding checklist. To actually do something with these boards. I'm going to say sample sprint retro board. So at least they have something here ready to go, because I'm imagining that most of these won't be here because they won't have added a bunch of boards. There's going to be some onboarding checklist here. They'll click on a board, or they'll click the sample, or they'll click some prompt to edit, to make a board. So maybe we just need like a prompt here that says like, make a board. This might be part of the onboarding checklist, but really it's the most important part of the onboarding checklist. So maybe it should be a separate thing. Make a board. Does Whimsical automatically group these for you? Yeah, that's wild, isn't it? How speedy. Okay. So Sprint Retro, they're going to need to navigate between boards and meetings. Like I think this idea of boards and meetings does make sense. So I'm going to make a new thing here called meetings. And it'll be a list of meetings. Single command. Just a list of them here. You can click. And there's going to need to be like a meeting report once you click that. Because one of our biggest things we're trying to get them to is this feeling of, oh, look, this was awesome. Like, I got this data. I can save this and share it forever. Okay, we're going to need some nav because now we got a lot going on. So, boards, meetings, and we know there's going to be an account. Ooh, but look, in Whimsical, you can just hit A for avatar, drop it right in there. Look at that. All right. And I'm going to make like a little S for shuffleboard. that'll go back to the home screen if you need it. Probably. All right. This I don't want. I can add little icons, I think. Yeah. This I want to take over. I don't want you like worrying about menus when you're in this mode. I want you to be doing this. Or you know what? Even better. We can maybe add a save and cancel later as like a feature, but for now we're just going to say done. Everything you do is going to be editing right here. Maybe it should be down here. We'll just keep it up there for now. But this you're going to want over here as well. There's going to be some login logic for this, so we're not going to have these exactly. This is going to say a little bit more. Shuffleboard. Okay. And this is not going to be a login. This is going to be a button. Seen this pattern a little bit less. Besides like the login sign up, just like go to your dashboard and we'll figure out if you're a member or not later. Okay, shuffleboard is cool. What I really know I want on this page is a video because this just seems like something you're going to have to explain to people. I know I'm a little all over the place, but that's okay. Shuffleboard is cool. Okay, so what do we want to say to people about this thing when they get there? Okay, so when you're doing this, like, we're working on the craft of design right now, but there's also the user experience. Like, what are we trying to create for somebody when they come in? And there's a little bit of an element like, I was thinking about like Game of Thrones. You know how like there's that guy who goes like ooh, and like inhabits other people's bodies, or like Avatar. You have to like, I was gonna say Avatar. You have to like put yourself in the brain of somebody else, like a user, to build what they would want to see. User perspective taking, kind of like empathy. And you have to learn a lot about who your user is to try to inhabit that persona. And so this person's a lot like me because they're a designer, but there's some big differences for me. The biggest difference is that they do not care about shuffleboard. I care because I'm making it, and so now I'm already getting attached to it, and I feel like, ooh, this is my little pet project. But the person who's using this does not care. How are they going to find this? How are they going to come to this? They're going to come to this from like, you know, Google or something, right? Like they're going to come here from the Goog, bunch of search results. Oh, I gotta rename this. Maybe we should like actually figure out what our SEO is going to be. Like shuffleboard. Easy workshops. Shuffleboard, yada, yada. So we know we need to do some better stuff here. Oops. How do I get to input, text input P? So this is our search result. What are they searching for? Workshop tool, maybe. So this title here can basically be this, and this can basically be something that we put under here. So what do we want to say? I mean, I kind of think about these headlines and stuff like the first thing should kind of be like a brand. I almost think of it as like a brand thing. Like this is it describes the key tone and abstract value of what this thing is so that you get excited and try to learn more. Because you can't put all this, like this is a big heading, right? This is that first thing they're going to see just to get that initial impression. So you can't say everything you need to say on this page in that first heading. You just need to give them enough to give them a sense that they're excited. Shuffleboard is okay, who's this person coming in? Can I put a little person here? Ooh. Nope, not what I want. There's a generic looking human being. I'm going to use my old coworker Becky because she, I think, ran this really great retrospective. And she's different enough from me. That doesn't look like Becky. Becky. No. Woman. We'll go with this one. Close enough. She's a project manager or at a software company. She's like a hustler. She's like always getting stuff done. She's energetic, and really cares about like bringing teams together. And she's got this like task of like getting her team to collaborate. And she's like buried under insane work amounts, as all project managers often are. She's motivated by like emotionally like team and like success, like getting things done, shipping. I'll say, like by team I mean people, like other humans, not like human resources, like other people she sits next to and she likes, and primarily like fun, humor. She's like a fun person. This is a little bit cliche, but I wonder if like saying that like when people talk about Becky, they're like, oh, she's like this, we couldn't have done it without her. She's so important. I want to like fulfill that role for her. So I want to say something like Shuffleboard is like become like this, be like the superhero, be a meeting superhero. I was thinking about workshop before, but then I was like, this is for live workshops, but do people who run workshops even think of them as workshops? They just think of them as like collaborative meetings. Okay, be a meeting superhero. Okay, so this next part I think is like, we've given them some like abstract cool thing. Ooh, we could put in like a superhero. Can I do this? Superhero. That's Becky. Kind of. Trying to always like imbue a layer of emotion. Hopefully this is easy enough to use because there's not much to do here. But I also want to like add some kind of fun illustration. All right, as I was saying, this part here, you really want it to be like, we got to explain what this thing is. Like Shuffleboard does what? We want to touch on value, not just feature, but benefit. But I think sometimes people who have this mantra in their head of like, we need to talk about like benefits focused, not feature focused, forget to explain to people like what the hell this software even is and does. Like they could say like, streamline the collaboration between your team simply with my app, AcmeCo. And I'm like, okay, what is it? So Shuffleboard helps you run live workshop meetings and makes running brainstorm meetings easy and shareable. And this copy should be something not like that. See how it works. Try it for yourself. And I like to do a little bit of like CTA. Like CTA is a call to action. That button is like a call, like an ask of them to do something. I'm going to say no credit card required, free trial, no credit card required. Just to put people's mind at ease, like, hey, relax. I'm not going to pop up some credit card form if you click this button. Just want to show you what it looks like. That's me. While I'm on this page, I knew I wanted to have some landing pages. It should be center. So like shuffleboard. What do we have? Retrospectives, kickoffs. Brainstorms. This is like something we'll have at the bottom, like some, other pages, but we don't really need to emphasize them now, I don't think. And maybe we'll have like about, terms, privacy. We'll sort that out later. There will probably be features. We'll probably need pricing. Maybe I'll get to that later, but like for now, this might be enough, especially with the video. Okay, so they come into Google. Becky comes into Google. Becky comes into Google. Easy workshops. That is not what she wants. Become a meeting superhero. I'm trying to remember if Becky likes emojis, but I think she does. You know what face Becky would like? Maybe that. Is that too like weird? No. Uh-oh. Hold on for now. Shuffleboard. Shuffleboard, what did I say? Makes running brainstorm meetings easy and shareable. I don't know if you can make running a brainstorm meeting shareable. That doesn't make any sense. But who cares? Okay. Becky, become a meeting superhero. Try for yourself. That sounds good. Oh, I want to find out what this is. Oh, look, it does some other cool stuff. Oh, generally, there's like, this is like a fun brand. Like, there's cool, fun stuff going on. Skateboard. Can I put a skateboard in here? Pizza. Yeah. Pizza. It's not as fun as I thought it would be. Okay. So you get in, you make a board, how to do it. Maybe we need another video here. A little bit of an introductory tour. So she's coming in, she's excited, she knows what to do. She sees a sample board. We don't even need these other ones here yet, because like we get it. That's what it'll be. Make a board. I like that there's a sample, because you could have it edit. I mean, you need to be able to play this. Really, this should be like, there's not going to be that many of these boards, so we can make them a little bigger. Whereas with, like when there's going to be a lot of something, like these meetings, you probably need to have a pretty dense list. But these boards could be like big cards or something, because how many are you really going to have? Sprint retro board. Let's make that sample way smaller, but still visible. Great. And we need a play button. Oval. This we want to be very clickable. Can I do a triangle? There's a video play button. There we go. Nice. All right, big play button for our Sprint Retro. It's probably going to be some little mini description here, maybe like plan what find out, discuss what went well and what can be improved about our latest agile software sprint. One of the things that I don't do a lot of high fidelity visual design at this stage with these wireframes, obviously you can see, but you can see that I am trying to get the like the text down to be pretty reasonable, because the copy, the things that you say, this copy is going to be one of the biggest things that affects the user experience of this, like the words, the tone, the words, the instructions. You know, if you're doing it right, you don't have a lot of Chrome. You don't have a lot of boxes and boxes and boxes and wells and widgets and click here to do that. Like, you know, this whole mechanical Rube Goldberg UI. Like, it's really just some text with some links, a little bit of love on it, you know, a little bit of polish. Great UI doesn't need, shouldn't have clever, weird contraptions to work well. So really what you're prototyping out, honestly, is a lot of just copy. And also, like, people tend to put so much text in this stuff. You really want to try to cut that down as soon as you can, I think. I think, you know, a common thing to do here will be like lorem ipsum. And I've done it recently. But as much as I can, I try not to. Because, you know, you can't even figure out what size this thing needs to be until you put the copy down. Like, if I had put lorem ipsum, I wouldn't have known to put sample here, because I wouldn't have recognized that this was a board that was already here for her. Okay, so if she hits play, she's going to go to meetings. No, if she hits play, she's going to go to a live mode, and then it's going to appear in meetings. So how's what we got going on? This is like our marketing world. Is this going to work? Nope. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Ook. Not what I had in mind. Change shape. Oh, cool. Oh, I broke it. Okay. Just know that this section here is like our marketing website land. And so, like, we might very well have a pricing page here. Like, maybe this needs a pricing section. Try not to do center aligned everywhere, because then it just gets too wacky. There's my alignment. Pricing. It's $5. It's $50. Added 0 to your pricing. Okay, so pricing is $50. Sign up. Probably some improvements to be made to this page for another day or another moment. So this is like our. I gotta go and do this. I'm getting distracted. Pricing. Okay. We get in here, and this is our in-app section with our boards and our meetings. Don't think we need more on boards than just this thing here. This is looking pretty good. My fan is going nuts in my computer. This is a critical part. We know we need to get here. Meetings, critical eventually. I want to do this in like this storyboard. You know, this is like the rough journey map / wireframe. There needs to be this moment that happens in the middle where this thing actually gets used. So she hits play on this board, and this is where we need this presenter mode. where it says, welcome to the meeting. Hold on. I had some ideas for this, didn't I? Kind of. Workshop's on autopilot. Maybe that's better copy than what I had. Did I show you this before? Thrasher? I called it Thrasher because I thought that would be like a cool copy for like a collaborative thing, because like thrashing out on ideas is sort of a way to describe like getting together in a room and figuring it out. But then I was like, do I really want like a death metal band brand for this collaborative software that I'm supposed to people think would find approachable? And I don't think Becky listens to death metal, and I don't either. So I passed. But then again, I thought like, maybe, standing out isn't such a bad thing. This guy, Seth Godin, wrote this book called Purple Cow, where he says basically you should be unique and stand out. And I thought, well, no shit. Like, marketing people would say that you should be different. But then I started to think about it, and then I thought maybe you really should just make an extra effort to be different at the expense of normalcy and other things. But we're not going to go with Thrasher for now. So here we have a screen that sort of shows what my idea was for this. I'm not getting a lot out of that, but I think it's triggering some memories of generally what could happen. So, all right, we're going to say welcome to the meeting. Welcome to the sprint. It's really sprint sprint retrospective. We know what it's called. Hosted by Becky. Sorry, Becky. I didn't ask you if you wanted to be in my video, but now you're the star of the show. Okay. We should show everybody else who's joined. What's going on out there? All right. I don't really like the layout. I feel like rather them all be like this or something. Oops. Oh. So as you join, everybody falls into place here. You know what you really need on this? You need the link to figure out how to join. That's what really is necessary. Bump that down. Join. Nope. What is it? P? Yeah. HTTPS. Get. Let's just assume that we have a URL shortener. Shuffle. I don't think there's an LETLD, but honey bear apple tea. So there's no button to join because you're looking at this. This is something that she's looking at, that she's going to then share on her screen. So I don't think this is the real user here is an invitee. Let's say Jason. Need a new image for him though. Which is the most Jason looking? That's pretty good. So Jason is a designer at Software Co. with Becky. He's first going to see this, then he's going to go to his phone and sign up for this meeting when Becky asks him to. Maybe he wants to know like what tool is this? So should we have like a little shuffleboard thing on it? Probably not like that. We should probably have it down by here because the Becky and this meeting are really the star of the show. Powered by Shuffleboard. So he goes, he sees this. I gotta get this thing looking visible. It's a little better. I'm getting the alignment a little bit better here. Total waste of time. Not what I should be doing right now. You gotta give yourself a little break. You can enjoy it a little bit sometimes. You can enjoy the process. Design is fun. It's really fun. Who are these people that have joined? Gotta tell them. Okay. Oh man, that was just bugging me. Thought I wanted it left aligned. Guess I don't. So Jason comes into this meeting. He sees this on the board. He's like, all right, it's a meeting that Becky's hosting. I get it. Who else is in it? These people. Maybe, join us by visiting by, he needs a little bit more instruction, I think. Enter this, go to this website on your phone computer. Maybe a little heavy-handed. We'll worry about it later. Jason has some feedback to give. Like he has some opinions about the project for Sprint Retro, for example, or the brand, or whatever we're doing. But maybe, doesn't always feel super excited to share opinions in a group. He's hired at this company, so he's like smart and important part of the team. Like we know we wanted him to have some stuff. He's like, always a little skeptical of new tools. Because that's a thing. SaaS is a thing. Startups get SaaS tools. Hey, we're using this tool to run this. And I think sometimes the fact that you're using a new tool can freak people out because it'll feel like the person in charge has sort of abdicated the throne of running a good meeting, and it's just going to be we're going to be trapped in this new tool situation, which is I don't think ever really true. Actually, it's often true, but I don't hope it isn't true for this. So let's just put a little bit of encouragement here, maybe for Jason. This will be fun, we promise. Fine enough to say in a wireframe, but we're setting the bar high. If we say it'll be fun, we promise, it actually does need to be fun. Make sure that is the case later, or we need to go back and fix it. Okay, so Jason comes in, he sees this. Okay, there seems to be like a bit of a fun brand. It seems to be easy enough. This is a small link I can type. Words are easy to remember. I can see other people are already here. I might as well join. And then he joins. And this is going to be, shoot, I hit R to refresh and or rename and it refreshes. Participant waiting, I'm going to call this. Presenter waiting. Okay, so the first thing that he does when he joins is like, woohoo, thanks. Hang tight, Becky. Becky will get things started in a sec. That's all you need to say, right? Maybe. Relax. It's coming soon. So then presenter has a couple stages. There's a presenter waiting. There's a presenter prompt where they're going to ask a question. This should be like huge. Then people give the answers. Presenter answers. And then there's a presenter done. I'm going to say done. Huge. Green. Successful. Like a stamp. In fact, let's put an obnoxious rectangle around it. Done. Yeah, if you don't have anything to say, don't say it. But we can say this. Good job, everyone. To do maybe like some stats about the meeting. Like this is definitely, I'll often do this when I'm working. I'll just put little to-dos on the board outside of the wireframe so that when I come back I can see what I want to work on. I think we've got our rough strokes out. Okay, what went well in the sprint? Okay, answers. We're going to show answers that come up as they come up. So we need to say like, great team communication. Somebody said that. Okay, this is going to be a certain color. Oop, not what I meant. Let's say this is yellow and this one is red. Generally, these post-its are color-coded per person, so you can see who said what. In this case, we need some kind of color coding situation. So actually, maybe instead of pictures here, we need to have like color codes. What went well in the sprint? It's really like a little key, actually, like a legend for a map. Can I make this a color? I can. Nice. Chris as. There's Jason. Now, I'm generally trying to avoid adding color whenever possible because I don't want people to get distracted by the color here. But in this case, the color is actually a meaningful thing because I'm just going to, what I should do is just put like blank cards up, like some kind of loading state. Maybe so as people can see people working, but not get like intimidated by all their, see all the answers and get distracted. Okay, so this is here. The legend is again down here, so people can see who said what. I guess you could put a little avatar in every single one, but that would get a little bit distracting quickly. I prefer these to be solid. Oh, sprint done. Might as well use the colors all the way through, huh? Okay. So as the presenter is going through this list, we need this other person, this participant, Jason, to be walking through this. There's a prompt. What went well this sprint? All we need to say is what went well this sprint. Simple as that. We need a text input here. Can I make this a text area? Yep. Cool. Type it in. Give you a button. Share. Submit's not a very good button copy. Might as well make it big. Keyboard. Let's use a table for now, I guess. I don't know if there's a way to do this in Whimsical. But, you know, you can't forget that when you're on a phone, a whole lot of your screen is going to be taken up by some typing stuff. This send button's too big. You know what? It's like the modern age. All you need is a little send icon. Keep doing that. For some reason this feels like location. Whatever. All good. Maybe a little blue here just to say like this is important that you send this. And we need some placeholder text. And then as he types, it's going to go up into, we need a little avatar to show them not only that he signed in, but what color he is so he can recognize himself on the board. Wait, orange. Getting hungry. What Jason said. Great team communication. Somebody else said, shipped on time. Everybody's really excited about this. All right, a little calmer. We don't need to make it orange everywhere because we already know what he is. And we want the screen to be as distraction-free as possible. Maybe we need a little X can like change his mind. Forgiveness is a pretty important element of user interface. You need to be able to let people say never mind. Maybe he adds another one in here. Good result. Not loving these visually. There's a way to get rid of them and make it better. We will figure that out later. Okay, he types his answer. When everybody's answers are up, what does he see? I don't want him to see anything on his phone. I want to say, hold up. Really, what's happening is he might be typing on this one and then saying, oh, like it's going to change out from under him when Becky advances or time's up. So I'm just going to say, time's up. Check the board for all the answer for everyone's answers. Just a little hint for him to eyes up front again. And then another one here for all done. Thank you. You'll get an email about this soon. Okay. So let's run through this from Becky's perspective real quick, and then we'll do Jason's. She searches for a workshop tool. Now that I know I can make this not placeholder text. On the Google. First result. Become a meeting superhero. Shuffleboard makes running brain sessions meetings easy and shareable. Your get everyone's. We want to talk about making space for everybody's opinion. There's a lot more to talk about, I think, here, but we'll just call it good for now. So she comes in, she says, be a meeting superhero. I don't know if meeting, we already have meeting down here. Be a collaboration. Even saying meeting might freak people out. Okay, try for yourself. He's like, you know what? I watched this video. I dig it. Try for myself. Try. Boards. Make a board. Okay. Maybe we just need to like explain what's going on here. Maybe it's not an onboarding checklist because the only thing to do is like run the thing. Sprint retrospective. We have to come back to this. So she goes in, she clicks a board, she makes it. Basically, she sees each of these questions. And all you really need to start, honestly, is just like a list of questions with an add question. Wait, how do you do that? Add a link. Add prompt. Question's a bit more human. And then for each question, we have our text. This is a giant input. Wish I could make that extra large. So there's lots of things we could do here. Like we have this list in here somewhere. All the different ideas I have for like this page, like what you could make. So I'm just gonna like put them in here, like, but not in the board. Multiple choice might be something, like pulling from show answers, show options from previous slides, etc. Um, there's so many different things like time limits. And if time limits, auto advance. And minimum number of answers. Like you should say at least 3 posters, everybody. Max number of answers. Like, hey, come up with 3 and only 3 brand attributes that you think our company should embody. Lots of stuff there. So she goes in, she makes this stuff. I mean, honestly, to start, this board could be a hell of a lot simpler. It could just be questions. What went well? Add question. Done. You know, like, because if there's no options, do you really need this whole like 2-panel? I mean, I had a 3-panel sketch, but I might not need 3 panels. I might need 2 panels. And if you're just getting started, really, you don't need any panels. You just need one big list, and then you're done. So this is going to be a version, like a simpler version that we can have. Edit board, simple. Okay. This will be there just in case. So she goes in, she sees this already, she can edit it. I need to make it clear that you can edit this. Maybe the whole card will go to edit, but unless you hit this play button here. I wish I could make this somehow darker or something. I'm going to make this, instead of this whole like telling you what to do, because we already got the sprint retrospective thing, I'm going to just have a new board option at the top always. I should have made this a group, but I didn't. That way, you don't have to tell her what to do. It's just like pretty obvious what to do. If you want to make a new board, click the part that says new board. Okay. And there's a video here. Can I do a vertical divider? Do I need to? No. Okay. Boards, meetings, sprint retro. So she goes in, she makes a board. Then once she makes it, maybe some congratulations. There's some like extra stuff that we need to add on as some color onboarding here. But from a practical perspective, she can click play, gets the sprint retrospective. We might want to say like a little toast for her that says like, the meeting started. You can share you might splashing smiley faces over there, all over here, recklessly. Okay. Wait, can I make this green? Yeah. Yeah. That's what I want. Oop. Not quite that good. No icon. Okay, so she starts it. Everybody joins. She hits next. She needs a button to hit next. this does belong at the top after all. I might need to close. Okay, so that goes to here. What went well this sprint? Go to ads. Okay, I think instead of times up here, we might need a version of this. Participant pause, and there might be an alternate version of this where they're voting. So like if Becky allows people to vote, then they might want to actually go in and have the dot votes. This is like a little bit, you know, like advanced for us right now. But I think it's worth doing in the wireframe at least. So like each of these should get an option to like it. Big heart buttons. A little much, honestly. That's okay. We all know what color hearts are. Let's not pretend. Okay, and what we're trying to say here is you can vote on your favorite answers. All right, guys, we're getting there. Time's up, done. Becky has a list of meetings. The meetings have at least like just everything that happened. So we're just going to say we need the question, what went well this sprint? A shortened version of it. We need people's answers. And then we can just say down here, two likes. And that should be first because it's the more popular one. So we've already got like a pretty good idea of what this result might be. And then you can just copy this for each question. This is actually, the main thing is it's the sprint retrospective that happened to be on July 4th. Oh man, why should not be holding sprint retrospectives on July 4th in the US? It's a holiday, so we're going to say this instead. Becky did it. Becky did it. And maybe you want to download this report. People download button. Maybe download, but more realistically, you're going to want to share. So then you don't have to you can just pick people. You don't have to download the PDF. So this would be a bonus secondary item. And maybe a divider to make this a little more clear what's going on. That's nice. We're in meetings. We have a little status indicator there. Here you're in boards. Okay. Looking good. This should say sharing it. Oh, it says spring. No. I'm moving it. We're running off the rails, ladies and gentlemen. All right. I think we're getting there. We are so close to a basic first pass. We know we need settings. Where once you get there, you can manage things like your account, billing, teammates, etc. TBD. Not really sweating that one. All right. Looking good. Let's walk through Jason real quick before we're done. Jason comes in, designer acting. Welcome to Sprint. He signs up. Welcome. Cool. So there's a bunch of things I know I want to still do with this. I want to have email, a layer of email, like where people are getting emails. Like Becky's getting encouraged for creating her thing. She gets the report sent to her as soon as it happens. Jason gets a report. I have this idea that Jason would maybe, we'd ask Jason for feedback in email about the tool and how Becky did. And if it's a bunch of positive feedback, then we give it all to Becky and say, hey, by the way, your teammates had an awesome time at your meeting and I thought it was really, really fun. You maybe want to do this again. Maybe sign up for a pro account. Well, I don't want to have an email there. Why do I just put a mouthful of nuts in my mouth? I'm getting hungry. Okay. I think we're at a good stopping point. We've got a first pass at this. Next, I think I'm going to take a break, get some food, come back, try to put this all in a prototype, and flesh out a little bit more of any of these details that are missing once my brain's a little fresher. And this has been about an hour anyway, so definitely time to take a break and walk around for a little bit. And then once we have that going, then I think we'll be pretty close to putting together like a prototype that we can walk through, play with a little bit, and see if we can start building. All right, I'm excited, man. If you got this far, good for you. I hope you're watching it on fast speed or something on YouTube because it takes a little bit longer. But I will say, I'm excited. This is feeling like a real app. I think it's feeling pretty good. I think my sense of it is that we're on the right track. And I'm really curious to see what I come up with once my brain is fresh. I can stretch my back, move around a little bit, and get back at it. Okay.